All right, let's dive in. Today, we're exploring the world of Karan Aujla.
Oh, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, he's a Punjabi music star making waves, and not just in his own genre.
Right, he's reaching a global audience.
Totally. We're going to break down this YouTube interview with him. It gets really personal.
I was so impressed by how open he was. He really shares a lot.
For sure. And where he starts is heavy, losing his dad at 9, then his mom to cancer just 5 years later.
It's heartbreaking and so young to deal with that kind of grief.
You can't even imagine. And what's interesting is how he talks about just trying to act normal.
Yeah, just pushing those emotions down to get through it.
Like, is that a guy thing, Do a lot of young men struggle to process those feelings?
It makes you wonder, right? How many of us bury those big emotions instead of facing them head on?
Exactly. And for Aujla, even amidst all this loss, you see the artist starting to emerge.
Music becomes his outlet.
Yeah, he starts writing songs at 14, pouring all that sadness, that longing for escape into his music.
It's almost like a classic story, right? Art born from hardship.
It is. And think about it. Music gives voice to those emotions that are hard to articulate.
It's raw, it's real, and that's what connects with people.
Deeply. And Aujla didn't just write in his bedroom. He was out there hustling.
Oh, yeah, he had that drive.
He was working on music video sets, anything to get his lyrics in front of established singers.
Smart move.
Shows such strategic thinking, playing the long game.
Instead of chasing quick cash, he was building his name, his brand.
Exactly. And that's a lesson for anyone, right? No matter what you're trying to achieve, that long-term vision is crucial.
It's about putting in the work step by step, knowing where you want to go.
Makes you think about your own path. Are you playing the long game too?
For sure. Now, this is where things get really interesting with Aujla. He talks about the contrast between getting his first bicycle.
Oh, that pure childhood joy.
Yeah, and then later on, owning a Rolls Royce.
The ultimate status symbol.
But he says it didn't bring that same level of happiness.
It makes you think, right? We chase material things, but do they really fulfill us?
It's a question we all grapple with. Is it stuff or experiences, connections that bring true happiness?
And Aujla admits, even with all the fame and fortune, something's missing.
A void.
He even says it straight up. Could it be that classic immigrant experience? Building a life from scratch often means prioritizing career over personal ties.
That's a fascinating point.
Sacrificing those deep connections along the way, maybe that's where the void comes from.
It really makes you think about what success actually means, right?
Is it external validation or something deeper, more lasting?
It's about defining success on your own terms.
Now, shifting gears a bit, Aujla talks about this almost spiritual experience.
Oh, the portal opening for his music.
Yeah, and it's not just him. Diljit Dosanjh talks about something similar.
It's like tapping into a source of inspiration that's bigger than ourselves.
Have you ever felt that sudden rush of creative energy, like something's flowing through you?
Absolutely, and it's not limited to music. Whether you're writing, painting, whatever your passion is, those moments of pure inspiration are powerful.
They are. And speaking of powerful, Punjabi music is exploding in popularity.
Going way beyond cultural boundaries, it's hitting a global audience.
Why do you think that is? What's resonating with people?
It's raw, it's authentic. In a world of manufactured pop, people crave something real, something they can connect with emotionally.
Punjabi music often deals with love, loss, longing. Those are universal themes.
And maybe that's why it's breaking through. It's speaking to something deeper within us, regardless of our background.
But we also have to talk about the darker side of Aujla's success.
Yeah, the risks that come with fame.
He mentions his home being shot at, the constant need for security.
That's intense, and it highlights the vulnerability that comes with being in the public eye.
Especially when you're as open and genuine as Aujla seems to be.
There's this contrast between his gentle nature and the harsh realities he faces.
It makes you realize this industry can be brutal.
And, unfortunately, he's not alone in facing these threats.
It's a systemic issue. And it's not just physical safety.
Right, there's the mental and emotional toll, too.
Aujla talks about struggling to balance his public persona with the need for privacy.
How showcasing success can attract the wrong kind of attention.
It's a reminder for all of us, right? To think about our digital footprint, what we share online, and who might be watching.
We all need to be mindful of the potential consequences, especially in this age of oversharing. Yeah, makes you think twice about what you put out there, for sure.
It does. But hey, speaking of putting things out there, remember that story about Shinaz Gill?
You mean the Karan Aujla tattoo?
Uh-huh. That's next-level fandom.
It shows the power of his connection with his audience, though, right? People really feel his music.
And it goes back to those universal themes he touches on. Love, loss, resilience.
They resonate no matter who you are, where you're from.
Totally. And Aujla's journey's far from over, you know. He talks about this goal of creating a Punjabi Despacito, a song that breaks all those global barriers.
That's ambitious.
It is. But he's got the talent to drive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't underestimate him.
No, not at all. And it reminds us that we can all dream big, right? Push those boundaries, achieve things we might have thought were impossible.
For sure. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I got to ask you this.
Okay.
Aujla's story really got me thinking. If all this success doesn't automatically equal fulfillment, what does?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What makes a life truly meaningful?
What do you think?
Well, it's something I thought about a lot. For me, it comes down to those authentic connections.
Like real, genuine relationship.
Exactly. Feeling like you belong, having a purpose that goes beyond yourself.
And maybe finding joy in those simple things.
Yeah, the small moments. Aujla's story really highlights how important those things are.
It does. Well, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive into the world of Karan Aujla.
This was a good one.
It was. We hope you enjoyed it and that maybe it got you thinking a little bit about your own life, your own definition of success.
And maybe even inspired you to chase those dreams, you know? The ones that really light you up.
Till next time, keep diving deep.
You know, it's interesting thinking back to the beginning of this interview.
Yeah, where he starts with all that loss.
It's like this really heavy foundation.
It is. But then you see how he channels that into his music.
Almost like turning pain into something beautiful.
Right, and that resilience is so inspiring, wouldn't you say?
It is, especially considering how young he was when he went through all that.
To come out the other side so strong and driven.
He could have easily gone down a different path.
Yeah, but he chose to create, to share his story and connect with people.
And I think that's what makes him so relatable, even if you haven't experienced the same kind of loss.
There's that vulnerability, you know, like he's achieved all this success, but he's still searching for something.
That deeper meaning, yeah.
It's like it challenges that whole idea of making it.
Like success isn't always this linear thing.
Yeah.
It's not always about the external stuff.
Exactly. So I have to ask, what are your thoughts on that? If all this success doesn't automatically equal fulfillment, what does?
That's a big question.
It is, but I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Well, I think for me, it comes down to a few things.
Like what?
Those genuine connections, feeling like you belong, having a purpose.
It's like Aujla's searching for that sense of belonging, that feeling of home, even after achieving so much.
Yeah, and I think that resonates with a lot of people, especially in today's world.
We're so connected digitally, but sometimes those real human connections get lost.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget about what truly mattered.
And maybe Aujla's story is a reminder to prioritize those things, the people we love, the things that give us purpose.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance, you know, between striving for success and nurturing those deeper aspects of our lives.
And it makes me think about his goal of creating a Punjabi Despacito.
It's such a bold goal, isn't it?
It is, but it's also about so much more than just a hit song.
It's about sharing his culture, his heritage with the world.
And maybe even bridging those divides between people.
Like music can be this universal language. It connects us on an emotional level.
Regardless of language, background, any of that.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one day we will be dancing to a Punjabi Despacito.
I love that image.
Celebrating diversity, coming together through music.
That's a beautiful thought. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Karan Aujla.
What a journey.
It was. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation and that it's left you with something to think about.
Maybe even inspired you to chase those dreams.
The ones that set your soul on fire.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and remember to stay true to yourself.
Beautifully said. We'll see you on the next deep dive.